Oh, hello, everybody. We are live. Let's see what is going on in the world right now. Well, first thing that popped up on my feed was the Diddy case is coming to an end. I believe the plan is for it to end definitely before 4th of July. Nobody wants to go into the weekend with the thought that you need to go back to this on Monday. So I'm pretty sure they want to get it done. The interesting thing that is going on right now is the prosecutors, the government against Diddy. They are dropping a few predicate charges, which are basically like little charges that make up the racketeering charge. I thought this is very interesting. They're dropping the arson and the kidnapping um big charges basically. So uh, I don't this is the part I guess in court cases that I don't understand is that we sat through like what was it like 25 days of trial, right? And witnesses were brought up and they testified and you given all this evidence. And now that we're at the final steps, jury instructions are out, and basically the jury and this whole time, Diddy's team has been saying, "Hey, this is mistrial, 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 mistrial," and just because it's a mistrial doesn't mean it stops. It's basically they're gonna do it again, right? Which totally makes sense if you are now telling them what's going on, Racy Williams. Um, okay, this is the part that really bugs me about this because if it could happen to Diddy, who's got lots of money and somewhat famous, it could happen to anybody. Think about this, okay? So there was all this evidence brought in, right? And then they're charging him with arson. There like there's a whole bunch of stuff, but specifically the ones that were dropped right now, arson and kidnapping. And you heard testimony out over this, and then they put up pictures and they like they painted a picture, right? And now that we're at the end, they're like, you know what, ignore all that. And how as if you were on the jury, right, and you're told right now that you need to ignore all the arson talk, all the the Kid Cudi car bombing, ignore all that. Okay. Um, I believe it's his assistant, Capricorn Clark. She they're alleging that she was kidnapped. If you guys don't know the story, basically what happened was, um, Cassie was with Kid Cudi. Puffy found out, call called Cass. No, Puffy found out because Capricorn Clark. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get the exact story correct. The time sequence. It's been so long. There's been so much. Basically, what happened was Cassie was with Kid Cudi. Puffy finds out. Puffy is furious. Calls Kid Cudi. They talk. During this whole thing, he wants to get to Kid Cudi's house, right? Cassie is in conversation with Capricorn Clark, like on the phone with them. Puffy comes out, sees that Capricorn Clark was on the phone, grabs the phone and goes, "What's going on here?" And then he drives Capricorn Clark to Kid Cudi's house, and this is where the alleged kidnapping happened because he basically, she's alleging that he forced her to go somewhere that she did not want to go, Kid Cudi's house, and she was in the parking lot. Okay, that's the story. And then she calls them from Kid Cudi's house driveway. Puffy comes back out, finds out. I'm sorry. That's the sequence. Um, and now the jury is supposed to ignore all that. Basically, the whole Kid Cudi saga needs to be ignored. And I thought when I first heard the arguments about the Kid Cudi arson stuff coming in, I thought it was very strange that they're presenting it this way. I mean, we got a lot of good sound bites out of it because when Kid Cudi testified, he was great. He did his part, but he was great. He was like, Puffy was standing there like a super villain, and which is which is fine. But to go from there to now that they're dropping the arson stuff, and even and now at the same time when I heard the Kid Cudi stuff, I was thinking to myself, this all sounds great, but it's not. You're not directly tying Puffy to this. There was another element in there that was I don't know why it was like glossed over so quickly. I know on the internet it was people picked up on it, and I remember I even saw a clip of when Kid Cudi was walking out the courtroom, some reporter or person was yelling at Kid Cudi saying like, "Hey, it could have been your girlfriend, it could have been your ex-girlfriend, it could," because when I first heard the Kid Cudi firebombing story, he mentioned that he was at, okay, like this sounds crazy. When Kid Cudi found out his car was firebombed, testified. He said he was at his ex-girlfriend's sister's house. That's a crazy sentence to say because it's kind of like ex-girlfriend, so a girl you're not with anymore, her sister's house. Like, what are you doing there? And then supposedly, allegedly, the person that firebombed Kid Cudi's car, they found female DNA. So if you put those two together, you go, oh, there's a possibility that it could have been the ex-girlfriend, for him hooking up with supposedly, allegedly, who knows? But it's kind of like, what are you doing at her house? A sister, like that. I don't know why that was glossed over, but I know on the internet that was picked up on. That was a strange thing to say, right? And then I was thinking, and then even at the time, you can go back on my video I did during that day when I first even heard that statement. I was saying, oh, maybe they'll come back and they'll get someone to link the actual firebombing to Diddy, but they didn't. They never went back, right? They never went back and got more people to actually like link it because there's a possibility they could have been the ex-girlfriend, right? That was the theory that's floating out there. I don't know. So, and then that's related to the whole Capricorn Clark uh Puffy assistant kidnapping thing, so that needs to be ignored too. And then the whole time the defense was like, "Hey, mistrial." you know, all this information here is completely useless to the case, like to what you guys are charging us with. Can we get a mistrial? And then they're like, "No." So I don't know. I just found that that's just a strange thing because how could they just add in information like that? That has nothing to do with anything, and now the jury is supposed to ignore it. I can't ignore it. I mean, I'm not on the jury. I've been close before to being on juries, but I've nothing of this high profile. I've been an alternate before on a case, and I had to sit there and listen to all these random facts and whatnot. But nothing like this, where at the very end they're like, you know what, all that stuff you heard early on, ignore all that. So we'll see. Also very interesting that Diddy's defense is basically right now that you guys did improve your. That's basically it. Their defense right now is that you guys did it. The prosecutors didn't do a good enough job, um, you know, presenting their case, which On the outside looking in, my personal opinion is you know what's funny is that everyone on the internet now is like a is is like you know what's funny right now, especially in this current as of current date, everyone online seems to be an expert on the law. They're an expert in the Middle East, and they're an expert in history. It seems like that part kind of drives me crazy because it's like literally I'll make a comment or someone will make a comment, and literally someone will be like the complete opposite take, and it's like, dude, there's a lot of nuance going on around here. You know what I mean? So that's that's a funny thing, but my personal opinion right now on the Diddy case, now that it's basically done, um, I I also don't feel like the prosecutor, the government, did enough to support their charges. You know, I just don't feel like they did enough because they're charging him with a bunch of stuff, but all we got was baby oil, baby oil, baby oil, which is like bedroom policing stuff. And I just don't feel like it was enough. So my theory, gut feeling right now, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure there's some sort of website right now where you can make like you can make like some sort of like wager or bet. I feel like Diddy walks on this, and I don't know if what do you guys think? Let's send it out there. What do you guys think? Do you feel like the government did enough? I'm not saying Diddy's a good person or not, but we're talking straight up law stuff. I say that they didn't do a good job. They messed up this case so much. They spent too much time on baby oil stuff and not actual trying to prove um, RICO or organized crime. I mean, it seems to me what they actually proved was disorganized crime because it seemed like they were just doing stuff on the whim, like on the fly all the time with no because organized crime is like you're all working towards the same goal. Now, in this particular situation, what is that goal? Are they all just working towards um oh, what's going on, Malo? Hadn't seen you for a while. What there seems to be all working towards is getting like imagine this, okay? Organized crime is you're all working towards the same goal. Organized crime, you know what I mean? What they proved in the Diddy case is disorganized crime. If it was organized, is the goal to get Diddy more baby oil? Because like that seems like what they were trying to do all the time. It's like I need more baby oil. And that seems like that's all they did, you know? So I don't know. Let's move on to the bombing situation in Iran real quick. I just want to touch on this real quick. 'Cause I keep seeing these pressers that are going out and like everyone's talking is the Fordo facility destroyed? Is it not destroyed? And then we're getting so many conflicting things. My comment on this is it seems like every single time that what's his name Pete Hegseth gets pressed on this, he always goes, "Do you hate the military?" You know, he's always like, "These soldiers did they did their job. They did their job well. How dare you undermine what their achievement?" And I just want to say like no one's talking about that. They just want to know is the facility destroyed or not. Um yeah, I know. Okay, I'm all the bombs created craters and whatnot. That's not what I'm trying to say is the the pilots, the refuelers, like basically all the military personnel that were involved in creating the mission, they did a great job. They did their job. no one's talking. Like, have you seen the clips where, like, the people are asking Trump or Hetzef about, like, how, uh, is the facility really destroyed? And he's like, "How dare you undermine the work of the men and women or the pilots of the mission." I'm like, no one's talking about that. They did their job. They did their job well, you know, and it's like they did, But the thing is, to me, is they are, in a way, tools, right? They You get orders, you follow your orders, and you do your orders at the best of your ability, and that's what they did, and that's. But um we're not questioning their ability to do the mission and the mission itself. They did what they're supposed to do. Hey, I want you to drop 2 bombs on this location. Boom, boom, mission accomplished, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll get to the whole uranium thing. The, um, the uranium thing is kind of funny to me because it's still there. It's just buried. Technically, if they really wanted to, they can get it anytime they want, right? They just have to dig a tunnel. Like, they just had to go get it. And supposedly it was moved beforehand. And this is Israel telling us this, that it was moved beforehand. But every time we get information from Israel, I always like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like, it's from Israel, because this is maybe my conspiracy theory hat coming on. When you get information from Israel saying that, hey, it could have been moved, I'm thinking, "Hey, they want us to hit another spot." You know what I mean? The like, um, the Israel thing is so funny to me. I saw this clip online the other day, and it was Candace Owen, which I'm kinda like, about, but she was saying that, she was just asking the question, "What do we get from Israel?" And it's kinda like the guy couldn't answer her. I think it was she was with, what's his name? Pierce Morgan or whatever, and he was defending Israel like crazy. Like, sorry, I'm getting Texas. Um, but I do wonder about that. But that is a good question though. What do we get from Israel? Um, I'm trying to think, like, what is it that we get? They don't they don't have any, like, real exports. The only thing I could see, and the main thing they say that we always get, is like, intel, but they're like, their intel led us into Iraq. Or it could be, okay. That's a good statement. Stability in the Middle East. They are the only thing that I can see that we get from Israel is that they are our only point of, like, they're our only contact in the Middle East. And that's why we have to support them, because without them, we have no, yeah, like a watchdog, exactly, Amalo. Like, they're our only point of contact in the Middle East. Without them there, we're like over there blind, and things could be happening without us, like, without us knowing. But I just don't like their constant. It feels like we're being manipulated all the time. I think that's what it is. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's what it feels like, because we went into Iraq on their intel, and it ended up being a long dragged out thing for aluminum tubes. And they're like, they have the weapons of mass destruction. They have them. And then it's like been a gajillion years. Um uh Nothing, you know? We never really found the weapons of mass destruction, and then even in this scenario, um, they're like, "Where's the enriched uranium?" And then, like, I get it. They're like, "Oh, it's buried in the dirt. It's there." And they're like, "Okay." And then some people are saying like, "Oh, the facilities are still operational somewhat, or they could get it operational within a few months, few years from now." I feel like Iran will eventually get their nuclear thing going at some point. Um, there's that thing where if everyone has nukes, it's the same as nobody has having nukes. They if you have nukes, if they had the nuclear capability, the Israel wouldn't be so like cavalier about going in there, you know. But we'll see. It is what it is. We are just here, just seeing what happens and whatnot. Um, let's see what else is going on. Okay, this is an interesting thing I saw. I think I touched on it earlier. It was like the or maybe it's just the news picking up on it more. Um, the amount of female teachers hitting on or hooking up with male students is if you're just watching the news, it feels like it's skyrocketing like crazy. I I think in the last like 2 weeks or something, I saw like 5 or 6 different stories of female teachers hooking up with students. Like it's like this newest one that I saw um is pretty wild. Let me see if I could find a picture so I could show you guys who I'm talking about. But basically, the quick rundown is this teacher was impregnated by I think a 14-year-old, and she started her relationship with him when he was 11. Let's see, teacher impregnated by student. Let me see if I can find a picture. So you guys know which one I'm talking about. Because like literally I typed it in right and like a gajillion of them popped up. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's this one. And yeah, let me screen grab that so I can share that with you guys. The interesting thing about this, I hope it's this one. Oh my gosh, I literally typed it in and a gajillion of them different ones popped up. Make sure it's the right one. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's this one. But the one that I'm talking about, let me read this while I'm talking to you guys. Okay, yeah. I think it's this one. Let me just grab this one. Sorry. All right, so I can share with you guys what I'm talking about. Basically, she was their teacher, and the weird part about this story is that the family has 3 kids, and here we go. Lady here. I believe it's this one. And if it's not her, I'm sorry. I literally just typed it in, and this is the first one that popped up. So, which I find very interesting about this story is that this is a detail that I guess was left out. Is that the parents of the children, they have 3 kids, right? 2 boys, 1 daughter. Those kids spent lots of days at this teacher's house, and then at some point for, like, 2 years, they lived with her. I that's the part where I'm, like, really like, I don't understand that part of the story of this situation because I don't understand, like, what parents like, again, we don't know what's going on in their lives when like, that you would just have your kids live with somebody else like that, you know? That's crazy. Yeah, and then and then it gets to the situation, and how they found out was pretty funny, I think, though, because so she got preggers by the son, right? they found out because the dad was like going through Facebook and he saw pictures of this teacher's kid, and then he's like, "Your that kid kind of looks like my son," right? Like, I don't get like how does that happen? Like, you're like, you know what? That kid kind of looks like my son, and then it's like, oh, and then this whole thing unravels, and then it's like, oh my gosh, that that's I don't get. But one thing find very interesting though that I noticed is that the teachers that are doing this, um, it feels like they're getting better and better looking. I don't know, like, or maybe the stories that make it onto the internet or online are the good looking ones. Because I remember when this started first happening, like when I was a kid, it's usually like guy to young like female student, and then now we're seeing more like female teacher doing to male students. But there were a few that happened back in the day, but they were oogly. But now I'm like, what's going on? They're all like decent looking. So I don't know. I just thought that was very interesting that, or crazy that this is becoming a new trend. I don't know. Maybe it's the whole loneliness thing that's been going on. Some people are saying that people are very lonely now. Um, I don't know. Well, wait, okay, let's see. Amala says there was one where the teacher had multiple students while her. Oh, okay, that's crazy. I mean, that sounds like some Bonnie Blue. What's her name? Bonnie Blue? Bonnie Blue stuff. If you guys haven't heard, Bonnie Blue is attempting to do 2,000 guys at once now, which is crazy. 2,000. I guess she's setting up some sort of like art installation where she's going to be in some sort of glass box, I believe, for 24 hours. And she's just going to have guys come in there and do whatever. That's very interesting, I would say. Um, very interesting point. She's like the I feels like she's going for like Mr. Beast level of stuff where like like Mr. Beast when he first started it was like 100,000, it was $10,000, then it was $100,000, then it was $1,000,000, there was 10 million. Like you have to keep upping the ante because people get used to it, or they're like, okay, whatever, just another person getting $10,000 or another person getting $100,000 for I don't know how many push-ups you can do. And then so now she's at the point where it's like, I gotta keep it, I gotta keep going up and higher. But like, at what point? Because it's like going for one day, right? That every single one of these records is one day, and I'm like, the guys, the yeah, no, okay, I totally agree that she's definitely going through something and she needs help because at some point I'm pretty sure she just blacks out and it's just like whatever, you know. Maybe she likes the fact that during that time she doesn't have any control. Who knows? But it still goes back to the theory. I think I've talked about like 2 3 times now. There's that theory that she's actually a guy, and this is like covert payback because that totally makes sense. That like she's a guy and she wants to prove that she's uh, hot and beautiful and she can get as many guys as she wants. You know what I mean? Like because that's the thing about that I always feel about um guys that transition into ladies is that most of the time, I'm not talking all the time, most of the time you can tell that they are moving to the other side, you know what I mean? Where they don't look completely correct and they're in a weird spot where it's kind of like ugh, right? Ugh. And she did such a good job, I guess, of moving to the other side, and now that all these guys want her, she's like, "I'm gonna get them all," and then one day she's gonna come out and be like, "I was a guy the whole time," and then and she'll be like 10,000 guys deep, and then it'll be like they all be like, "No, am I gay now? No, no, no." Okay, I agree. I don't understand. Okay, this is maybe this goes to the point where for women, sometimes I feel like looks don't matter. There'll always be what Amelo, where have you been? There's been this theory. Let me show you the picture. There's this theory that's been speculating online. Is Bonnie Blue a man? There's this picture that's been popping. Where is it? There's there. I'm trying to find it. There's this picture that's. Oh my god, I got disconnected. Got disconnected. All right, we're back. Sorry, I got disconnected. Let's share the screen so El Malo can see what we're talking about here. We are talking about this picture here. Okay, so supposedly this guy on the left here is but Kyle Butler, I believe, or Carl Butler, and he um moved to the other side when he was around 13 or so, and they're speculating that he turned into this Bonnie Blue. um Face, I mean, eyes very similar, nose similar, cheek structure very similar. So I mean, it's a possibility. Eyebrows, like almost everything about this picture is very similar. um and I'm telling you, I would love that theory to be true. It would be amazing. Because, like, imagine if that was true, the I think the internet would blow up. I think the the internet would just completely die because she's making her press rounds like crazy. She's appearing on every single podcast. I'm surprised she hasn't made it onto Joe Rogan yet. Maybe she will. Speaking of Joe Rogan, we've touched on this yesterday. Um, I think the Liver King is Joe Rogan took him out. Like he's donezo. I can't believe what we witnessed yesterday. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. I made it just a quick video just to recap the last 72 hours. Oh, it's been longer now, but at the time it was 72 hours of complete decline of the Liver King. I don't understand why people even how okay, I don't understand how the Liver King made it so far because it didn't seem like he was selling anything that we haven't seen any before. Like it's all regular stuff. I don't understand how so many people could have like let's just take vitamin gummies for example. Yeah, dude, the look on those guys, because you know how they're usually masked up. They're like, no, am I gay now? Ah, um, like that's I think the ones that always get you are actually the Asian ones. Those Transformers are scary. The Asian Transformers are very scary because I don't know what they're doing in Thailand or whatever. The lady boys, they're so good at it over there. It's crazy. Maybe that's something that I don't know that America needs to catch up on because the Amer the lady the guys that transition over here in the West, they're terrible at it. You know what I mean? Because I've I it's very rare to see a Western person that moves to the other side, that transitions, and you go, oh, like. That's she's but the Asian ones, you're like, "Whoa, that's a hottie body," and then, like, you spend all this time, like, pursuing them, and then you're like, "Oh, no! That's not what I'm into." Ah. That's I don't know. I don't know. Okay, this is the thing, though. Imagine you're, like, a Thailand, surgeon, and, you go to school, and then you become a surgeon, and oh oh, that's crazy, Amalo. Like, you think like, they know that they're, like, lady boys, and they just, like and they're just like, "Whatevs." When in Rome, you know? But, okay, I was thinking about the Thailand, surgeons, right? They're like like, when you're a surgeon, you have to, like, specialize? Imagine, like, you're growing up, you're like, "I wanna be a doctor," and then you're like, "I wanna be a surgeon," and then you go, "I wanna be a plastic surgeon," and then you know what? I wanna be the leading plastic surgeon for, lady boys, and that's just your lane. Because at least every doctor that I've talked to, you have to specialize into a special lane because the medical field is so big. Like, there's so many things, and you have to, you know, specialize into different things. Oh, I wonder what is the most painful part. You think it's the shaving of the Adam's apple, or downstairs is the worst part? Oh, that's a tough one. Dunzos. The- I think the downstairs one is the you're committed. There's no going back. But okay, I feel like at that point when it's time for you to do the downstairs part, I feel like you've been on so much estrogen that it's like a little raisin by that point, right? Doesn't it shrink? At least that's what I heard. We're in a weird lane of conversation now. Let's I don't know. We can stay here or we can move it on to something else. There's another thing I just want to bring up real quick. Sorry, we're going everywhere. Is I feel like to in Iran, like it's like jumping out of a 10-story window. That's insane. What, in Iran, like you want to push education. I wonder, do parents not want to push education as much? Because if you push too hard, your kid can become a nuclear scientist. And if your kid becomes a nuclear scientist in Iran, you're dunzos. I feel like, imagine you're like you're a parent in Iran, right? And you have this kid, and he's a genius, right? And you're like, oh my god, this kid is so smart. I think can become a nuclear scientist. And then the government finds out, the Iranian government finds out that you have this really smart kid, and because there's smart people everywhere, right? And they're like, "Oh my gosh, this kid, he's he could be the next lead nuclear scientist in Iran." I wonder, do you do you do you nourish that, or do you take like a bottle of whiskey and you put a little bit into the into the milk or whatever, just to lower the standards down from nuclear scientist down just a little bit, maybe just regular doctor. Because I feel like if you're a nuclear scientist in Iran right now, you're watching over your shoulder like crazy. Like, that must be the most paranoid position right now, to be a nuclear scientist in Iran. Oh, is that more parent? I wonder. No, I feel like that's the craziest. That's the worst job. Like, if you have a genius in in Iran and you're like, "Oh man, he could be a nuclear scientist." You're like, "No." No. He's he's not that smart. And it's just like you you like, instead of giving your kid Legos, you start giving them all kinds of, like, I don't know, like the pulley toys instead. Like, forget Legos. We don't know what Legos are here. Here's some rocks. Play with the rocks. Ah. Oh, like, I find that part of the beginning part of the war pretty interesting, where they just took out a bunch of nuclear scientists, and, that part also got glossed over a lot, as we're getting into it, where they're like, "We took out 5 nuclear scientists in day 1," and they're like, "Ah." Imagine you're okay, now I'm thinking, imagine you're that 6th, nuclear scientist, the ones that they didn't take out, because they took out the top ones, right? Okay, think about this, okay? They took out the top nuclear scientists in Iran, right? On day 1. They just like boop, 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 took them out. But imagine you're the next one up, but they didn't take you out. That means they think that you're dumb. That you're not gonna amount to anything, or else they would have taken you out. They're like, oh man, that guy over there. They're like looking through his files. They're like, no, he can live. And then, like, you're at work, right? You're like doing nuclear sciences stuff. You're like Homer Simpson. You're, just like Homer Simpson, right? He works at a nuclear plant, which is crazy. But you're just like working, right? And you find out like your buddy got killed, and you're like, oh man. You get a phone call. You're like, what? They took out Rashid. They took him out. Oh my god! They took out Navid. Navid is no longer here. Oh my god! Am I, Navid was just above me. Am I next? And then you're like calling your family and friends. You're like, you call your wife. You're like, they're taking out nuclear scientists right now, and I don't think I'm gonna make it home for dinner. I just want to let you know that I've been having an affair with Priya. um, I've been having an affair with Priya, and it's been going on for 2 years. I actually have another family. I'm sorry. Bye. And then you just sit there and you're waiting, and then nothing happens, and you're like, ah, no. And then you go home, you're like, your wife's like, what the hell? I thought they were gonna take you out. She already starts planning a funeral, and you're like, I guess I didn't make the cut. And then they're like, "You're the lead scientist. You're number 1 scientist, and they don't take you out. That means you're like the Homer Simpson of their nuclear program." Like, think about that. He's Whoever's the lead nuclear scientist right now did not make the cut to get taken out, and he's just doing the job right now of the lead nuclear scientist, but they're like, "Whatever, leave him alone." That's crazy. Oh my gosh. They're like, "Does he?" Okay, okay, you bring up a good point. Do you think he escaped? No, you'll be even more funny is that he's just out in the open. "Take me now." And they're like, "No, we want you there." Because wouldn't the goal be to take out all the nuclear scientists to the point where whoever you bring into top nuclear scientists will do such a terrible job, it sets them back even further? Because you know how they're saying that they are like they were only set back months or maybe years or whatever timeline that they're set back. It would be better to take out all their nuclear scientists to the point where you have Homer Simpson in there, and he's just like boop 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 boop, and then they go back even further. Oh, that would be the best. The pay must suck. No, no, if you're top nuclear scientist and people are getting like, if your subordinates are getting taken out, the pay must be so good. Like, I want all the rubles or whatever money that they use in Iran. I want all of it. All right. I think that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Um, I'll probably come back a little bit later. We'll see. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. And I appreciate you guys being here. You guys could be watching Hottie Bodies, but you choose to indulge my silliness. Thank you.